Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, Ken, and thank you for tuning into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh, alongside Gene Collier tonight. Give us a call, 412-575-2600 is the number, and we've officially made a decision on this show. We will not be taking any more phone calls about Le'Veon Bell, right, Gene?
That's my policy.
Yeah, no more phone calls about Le'Veon Bell. The Le'Veon Bell era on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is officially over. We're going to be talking about James Conner. How about Ben Roethlisberger? We might have to talk a little bit about Le'Veon Bell because some things happened in the Steelers.
You might have to.
I might have to. But Gene's going to ignore me when we're talking about Le'Veon Bell. That's the official policy here at the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. By the way, Gene, you saw here, we all talked to Ben Roethlisberger today, which I just find this so odd and so weird that he doesn't return anyone's phone calls, doesn't text anyone. I mean, people were on the guy that we're not supposed to talk about, Le'Veon Bell. I just want to make this one point, that Ben said he texted him today.
Yeah, I saw that.
And Bell never texted him back. This is a guy that played with them, been on the same team. They've won games together. This is your teammate. And, you know, Ben talked about band of brothers. Well, you would think the guy would at least have enough respect to text him back. And, yeah, that's where we're going to be headed tonight. No more Le'Veon Bell. But I just wanted to mention that. And I did have a chance to talk to Ben Roethlisberger. I asked him a few questions. And one of the questions I asked him today, Gene, was regardless of the amount of money, and this really has nothing to do with Bell, this has to do with Ben Roethlisberger, could he sit out an entire season? I mean, in your prime, would you be able to sit out? And he said that was a tough one, and basically said no because he likes to be in the locker room. I don't know how many guys, what do you think the percentage would be of guys that are in their prime, that are really good, could just sit out of something that they love?
It'd be very difficult, obviously. This is one of those episodes that is not going to be satisfactorily explained, I don't think. Mostly because I think everyone's lost interest, but it never made sense from the beginning. It makes no sense today. It's going to make less sense in the future.
Yeah, we've completely lost our senses here on the show with Le'Veon Bell. And officially, Le'Veon Bell talk is now done completely. We're not even going to call him Le'Veon Bell anymore. We're going to have to think of a name. If you can think of a name that we could refer to him, because we're not allowed to say the words Le'Veon Bell on this show.
Don't tempt him.
Especially with Gene. We will not be talking about Le'Veon Bell. But I guess the good news is, Gene, moving forward, James Conner, not out of the concussion protocol yet, but I guess he made a good step in the right direction. He did practice today, and they can't full practice, but they can't afford to get this guy hurt or lose him for a game.
No, you know, I think they've been as cautious as they're going to be. I mean, if there are, you know, if he gives them any reason to be conscious through the rest of the week, I'm sure, to be careful through the rest of the week, I'm sure they will. But it looks like he's going to be okay. And you know, he would not even confirm that he had a concussion after practice today.
Yeah, so we don't even know if he did. And I know we talked to him at the Pitt game, and he said he was fine, he looked fine, he acted fine. No one's confirming if he did, but he is in the concussion protocol, and that's only if you have symptoms. You can be in the concussion protocol and not have a concussion, right?
I believe that's correct.
So, you know, because Ben, I think, was in it earlier this year, and he didn't have a concussion. Also, the Penguins made a big move today. Before we go to break, the Pens traded Carl Hagelin. This is a good locker room guy. I'm surprised that do you think that Rutherford panicked on making a move? Or do you think he just wanted to put the hammer down and say, we got to change something?
No, I think, and I might be incorrect about this, but, you know, Jim Rutherford was really upset last week on a number of different fronts. One was that he identified an age-old problem in hockey locker rooms. They used to be called passengers. Sometimes teams had signs in their locker room, no passengers. That means nobody who's just along to watch the games and watch the stars perform. And, you know, for Carl Hagelin to get traded the week after that comment, you know, I might not be right about this, but, you know, I think, you know, they could be related. I liked Carl Hagelin. You know, I thought he played hard. This is one of those trades that is a real general manager's trade or a scout's trade. You know, I don't understand it on its surface. Tanner Pearson is, you know, not having a good year. But, you know, general managers and scouts sometimes see something in players that if they put him in a different atmosphere, they think they have a potential for their way of playing. That's the kind of trade this strikes me as.
Kind of like the Justin Schultz trade.
So it's similar to that.
Yeah, and the one thing with you look at their numbers are pretty similar to this year. The one thing you do with Carl Hagelin, you lose his speed. I mean, he's arguably the fastest guy on the team.
Yeah, very
and
fast guy.
you know, he's not a regular season performer, but this guy really helped out during both Stanley Cup runs and in the postseason. So, and I know a lot of guys were upset in that locker room, but we'll see how it works out. Tanner Pearson should be here tomorrow. We're going to head over to the Steelers Penguins locker room and try to talk to him in the morning before the game. All right, we're going to be talking more about the Penguins and the Steelers, not Le'Veon Bell. Also, the Buccos made a move today. They traded Max Moroff, and they also traded Jordan Luplow, a huge deal. They get 3 guys in return. We could talk about the Bell and Buccos also. Give us your call, 412-575-2600 is the number. Also, you can tweet me at Richie Walsh. He's at Gene Collier. Back in 2 minutes.